In the heart of the Arabian desert, where water is, super rare and survival depends on resilience, there exists a genetic legacy that has endured for tens of thousands of years. A lineage born in the cradle of civilization, carried by herders, prophets, and kings. Scientists call it Haplogroup J1, a Y-DNA lineage that reveals how the harshest landscapes forged some of humanity's most influential peoples. From the shifting sands of Arabia to the river valleys of Mesopotamia, this lineage is written into the DNA of men who built the earliest trade routes, founded ancient cities, and spread languages that shaped half the world. This is the story of the Desert Patriarchs, the genetic ancestors of cultures that turned arid land into empire. Every lineage has a birthplace. For Haplogroup J1, that birthplace lies between the Fertile Crescent and the Arabian Peninsula, roughly 25,000 to 30,000 years ago. Genetic data shows that J1 split from its ancestral haplogroup J, a lineage rooted in the mountains of Iran and the Levant. While its sibling branch, J2, moved north into Anatolia and the Mediterranean, J1 adapted southward into the open deserts and steppes. The difference between them wasn't just geography, it was survival strategy. J2 thrived in cities. J1 thrived in the wild. Their DNA tells the tale of mobility, endurance, and kinship built on the shifting dunes of prehistory. During the last ice age, much of the northern hemisphere froze, but the Arabian Peninsula remained dry and warm, a refuge for small human populations. Archaeological sites in Yemen, Oman, and Saudi Arabia reveal ancient hearths and tools dating back more than 20,000 years, left by hunter-gatherers carrying early forms of J1. These were not farmers or city dwellers, they were nomads following herds through valleys that were once green. When the world thawed, they expanded north and west, their descendants forming the backbone of early Semitic-speaking peoples. This makes J1 not just a genetic marker, but a time capsule of survival through the planet's harshest climates. By 8000 BCE, rainfall patterns shifted, and the once lush Arabian valleys began to dry. The men of Haplogroup J1 adapted again, this time by domesticating animals. They became the world's earliest pastoralists, moving flocks of goats, sheep, and camels across vast territories. Where other groups farmed, J1 herders followed the rhythm of the seasons, trading animal products for grain and metals. Their mobility turned them into connectors, linking the early civilizations of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Levant. Every oasis became a meeting point, every tribe a node in humanity's first desert network. Linguists have long noticed a strange pattern. Wherever J1 is common, Semitic languages, Arabic, Hebrew, Aramaic, and ancient Akkadian, tend to appear. Genetic evidence supports this link. J1 men formed the core of tribes who spoke early Proto-Semitic languages, spreading them through migration and trade from southern Arabia to Mesopotamia. Over time, as climate forced waves of movement, these groups seeded linguistic and cultural branches that would give rise to the Akkadian Empire, the Hebrews of the Levant, and later, the Arabs of the Islamic era. The desert wasn't empty. It was alive with human innovation, guided by the men whose Y chromosomes carried J1. Few haplogroups carry as much historical symbolism as J1. In modern populations, J1 is found at high frequencies across Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Jordan, and Israel, and among certain Jewish, Bedouin, and Levantine lineages. Historical tradition and genetics intersect here. Many lineages within J1P58, a major subclade, are believed to represent ancient patriarchal lines referenced in Semitic genealogies, families tracing descent through the male line over millennia. While science cannot prove myth, DNA does show that a powerful Y line rooted in Arabia expanded rapidly about 5,000 years ago, exactly when Semitic civilizations began to dominate the Near East. In this sense, J1 became the biological thread running through cultures that gave the world monotheism, writing, and law. As Bronze Age trade routes flourished, J1 men carried not only goods but ideas. Their descendants became traders, merchants, and pilgrims, moving along the Red Sea, the Arabian coast, and into North Africa. When Islam arose in the 7th century CE, it accelerated that genetic flow. Arab armies and settlers, many from J1 lineages, spread into Egypt, North Africa, and the Levant, intermixing with local populations. But this wasn't the beginning of J1's reach, it was the continuation of an ancient migration pattern. The same lineages that had once connected oases now connected empires. Modern genetic surveys reveal J1 frequencies as high as 60–70% in parts of Arabia, 40% in Yemen, and significant traces from Sudan to Morocco, each a testament to the enduring spread of this desert-born gene. J1 is defined by a key Y chromosome mutation known as M267. Geneticists use it as a marker to track ancient population movements in the Middle East and Africa. Sub-branches like J1P58, J1ZS223, and J1L858 map specific migration waves, from Neolithic herders to Iron Age traders and Islamic-era settlers. Ancient DNA from Bronze Age burials in Israel, Jordan and Syria has confirmed the early presence of J1, linking it directly to the populations that built the first walled cities and irrigation networks. This makes J1 not just a regional signature, but a foundation stone in the genetic architecture of civilization itself. Living in deserts shape the biology of those carrying J1. Studies suggest that certain genetic traits common in Arabian populations, like, efficient water retention, heat tolerance, and sunlight adaptation, may have co-evolved alongside the spread of this lineage. In other words, J1 men didn't just conquer the desert, they became part of it. Their descendants developed metabolisms optimized for scarcity, reflecting the deep bond between genes and geography. This is evolution at work. Nature, rewarding adaptability through time. Today, Haplogroup J1 is a living link between nations and faiths. It's found in Bedouin nomads and urban Arabs, in Jewish priestly lineages, and in distant Mediterranean families with, forgotten Middle Eastern roots. In Europe, traces of J1 appear in southern Italy, Spain, and Greece, a genetic echo of ancient trade and migration. In East Africa, J1 persists among Somali and Ethiopian populations tied to centuries-old Arabian contact. Haplogroup J1 is more than a code of letters and numbers. It's proof that resilience can thrive where life seems impossible. It's the story of people who made the desert bloom, who built empires out of trade routes and faith, and who shaped the languages that half the world still speaks today. Understanding J1 doesn't divide us by ancestry. It connects us through endurance. It reminds us that every civilization begins the same way, with a few determined humans facing the unknown and choosing to adapt instead of perish. The desert has always tested humanity, but from its dunes rose lineages that carried more than just survival. They carried wisdom, faith, and connection. The men of Haplogroup J1 weren't merely wanderers, they were founders. Their bloodline built bridges of trade and belief, from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. Their story shows that even in the most desolate places, human innovation burns brightest. And somewhere, in the silent sands where it all began, the DNA of those ancient patriarchs still waits, whispering the origin of endurance itself.